the Golden State Warriors have officially robbed the NBA. As we know, Mike Dunleavy's been cooking up a little bit as of late, making multiple moves to fortify this Warriors roster, but one acquisition in Seth Curry is looking like an absolute steal for this team. Not just because we get to see Seth Curry play the biological Splash Bros, but what he is performing out there on the basketball court. Because his first game, his debut was yesterday against the Oklahoma City Thunder, and it was way better than a lot of people expected. And the Warriors almost won a run. Of course, going into that game, not a lot of people gave a lot of hope to this Warriors group. The Oklahoma City Thunder, they are 21-1 out there on the season. They're a phenomenal basketball team, and without Steph Curry, with Jimmy Butler getting hurt, without a true center rotation, the Warriors didn't have a crazy shot at winning this game, but there was a couple of very, very exciting things to take away from this one, and most particularly was Seth Curry and his debut for the Golden State Warriors. Now, this was an acquisition a lot of people knew was coming because in the offseason, it was said, hey, Seth is going to sign with the Golden State Warriors, but it's going to happen later. And the fact that the Golden State Warriors convinced Seth to join this team with the fact of their financial situation and he wouldn't be able to sign right away, he had to wait the starting bit of the season. Seth Curry is too good of a basketball player to really be in that position. So the fact that the Warriors were able to make this happen, make this go through, is just an absolute W for this team. And in his debut against the Oklahoma City Thunder, he was absolutely fantastic. 14 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, went 6 of 7 from the field, 2 of 3 from the three-point line, knocking down shots at an elite rate, and looked pretty competent out there on the defensive end. And of course, you play against the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's always going to be a tough matchup. It's going to be a tough game, but you lost 124-112. It looked a little bit ugly, at the half. Jimmy Butler went down with injury as well. So there was a lot of stuff in terms of being concerned about what was happening for this team. But Seth Curry, as well as Pat Spencer, ended up taking this team and making this a little bit of a game, making it exciting, putting a little fight on to the Oklahoma City Thunder, making it happen to close things off. And the fact that the Warriors can have a guy like Seth Curry now hopefully eat up more of those Buddy Hield minutes, because again, I like Buddy. He's a good guy. He's a likable dude, but watching him play is just an absolute roller coaster in terms of emotions. Some games he's hitting, some games he's not, but he has not been that effective as a three-point shooter this season. It was the case again last night. This season only shooting 30% from behind the three-point line. Those stats, those numbers are going down a little bit after his performance last night against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Did have 13 points, but is 4 of 15 shooting, 2 of 9 from behind the three-point line. A lot of shots he just has to hit. He doesn't knock it down. He's not a plus defender by any stretch of the imagination either. So bringing in a guy like Seth Curry, who shot in the mid 40s in terms of 3-point field goal percentage last year, bringing him into the grouping, a more consistent 3-point shooter, will just ease the mental health of Golden State Warriors fans watching these games day in, day out. And I'll repeat it, the fact that he was brought in under these circumstances, under this situation, was an absolute heist for Golden State and has me very, very amped up about, of course, more moves have to be made. Mike Dunleavy cannot be finished cooking up just with this Seth Curry acquisition and the pickup of LJ Cryer, because now you are completely, not that you weren't before, but really, really reliant out there at your guard rotation. Steve Kerr, we know if, he has any opportunity to play small guys, he's going to do it. If D'Anthony Melton coming back, more moves have to be made, but I am extremely happy, extremely pumped with the acquisition of Seth Curry and the impact that he showed. But more the reason we should expect, more moves to be made, because of course the Warriors are a competitive team in the Western Conference, but this team has an even more glut at the guard position with D'Anthony Melton come back, and a guy I haven't talked about much out here on the channel, but Pat Spencer in this game looked very, very solid. It was really the Seth Curry, Pat Spencer duo, and Spencer on the season, nothing too dramatic, 5.6 points per game, 3 assists, solid facilitator, knocks down his free throws, could shoot the basketball, but in this game was very, very encouraging with what he was able to show, what he was able to produce. 17 points in this one, 8 of 14 shooting from the field, had 6 assists, 3 rebounds, able to facilitate out here for this team. Shot 57% from the field and knocked down his 1 3-point shot. It was really, him, Seth Curry, in those lineups that made a push, made a run, and made this game not be, you want to rip your eyes out watching you play against the Oklahoma City Thunder. So those are two major positives. And again, Spencer is another guard, another wing player you have out there on the team. Having all these guys that are capable NBA players at these similar positions, at their size, with their strengths and stuff, forces you to make some adjustments, make some, tweaks, because if that's the only, players that are on your team that Steve Kerr can trust, you need to make those tweaks, because at the big man spot, at the big man positions, there wasn't a lot of guys getting a ton of opportunity. Draymond Green went 5-11 from the field, 9 rebounds, 4 assists in this one, doing Draymond Green different things. He was playing center out of position continuously over the course of this season. Quinten Post got 18 minutes of action in this one, had 3 points, at least is a 7-footer, and he was a +6 for the game. When we had our legitimate 7-footer or our big man, stretch 5, it's it helped out. It made the floor more balanced. It allowed the Warriors to execute more of the different sets and things that they wanted to run with. So it's a need. It's a clear need. QP can't be your only big man that Steve Kerr will actually trust and rely upon out there at this point. So now that you have Seth Curry, it makes a guy like Podziemski, it makes a guy like Buddy Hield more expendable in terms of trade acquisitions, in terms of trade moves, because you're not going to be able to compete with the Oklahoma City Thunder if you don't make those changes, if you don't make those adjustments, right? Shea was scoring at will last night. Had 38 points. Jalen Williams 22 points. Chet Holmgren 21. Aaron Wiggins off the bench 11. They are just such a well-rounded team. I know a lot of people were thinking Chet Holmgren would dominate this group, and weirdly enough, it ended up being fine. But the Golden State Warriors need more production at that spot. So I'm breaking it down, but there was more storylines than that from last night's game. Basically, Jimmy Butler, there was a development in terms of his injury. Went out basically at halftime, dealt with some knee issues. Hopefully this is just the Warriors punting this game rather than coming out and saying, hey, Jimmy Butler's actually hurt. And then you're dealing with a situation where both Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler are hurt now at that point. That would not be very good. And also on top of it, Jonathan Kuminga has been back in the lineup here now at this point. He has, of course, been the center of a ton of different trade rumors. And again, he hasn't been horrific, so to speak, but not a great game in terms of, his second game back out there for this Warriors team. 8.7 rebounds, 3 of 10 shooting from the field, and ended up getting benched out there and, down the stretch of this one. And it was the Seth Curry, Pat Spencer lineup that really made that push, made that run out there for this team. So really interested to see how JK handles the next few weeks while, he's still ineligible to be traded, but the Warriors still tend to go in the direction of not playing him the minutes that I know he thinks he specifically deserves. And I know a lot of Warriors fans are believers in Jonathan Kuminga. A lot of people aren't, and it's a big divide right now amongst the fan base, but it'll be interesting to see how everything on the JK front ends up playing out. But let me know what you guys think about all this in the comment section down below. You guys have best to make it as far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Again, we are on that goal, on that road to hit 15,000 subscribers by Christmas Day. So if you're enjoying the Daily Warriors content, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Anyways, I'm signing out. Cheers.